Welcome to Episodes from the Garage, the official, unofficial voice of the Elite Girls Rugby League. 11 teams from Connecticut to South Carolina and some of the best girls high school rugby in the States. Listen in for game recaps, stories, interviews, and more from in and around the EGRL. Episodes from the Garage is made possible with support from Basecamp 31, a New Jersey nonprofit that brings individuals and businesses together to invest in healthy community and personal development through shared human experience. And now, Episode 8.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Woo-wee, for certain. It's been a minute since Episode 7, and, you know, we've got a pretty jam-packed agenda, as we always do, but there's some really exciting stuff to talk about. So just to give a quick recap of what we're going to do, we're going to get into the Rugby Showcase East, formerly known as Mars, because we're looking to expand this event, and I think this year certainly spoke to those opportunities. Sure. We have some overseas guests who have joined us from Ireland and France, and we have some great dialogue to be had on that. So, Tommy, Stephen O'Brien, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Then we're going to go from that to Performance Pathways update, the two big wins for the U.S., and we'll get into some detail there. So,
nice.
So let's go around the horn and introduce ourselves. Like I said, we have some guests. So let's start with Chris O'Brien, who's behind the camera.
I'm still here.
He's still here. Primo.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Nelson Galarza, a.k.a. Primo. Steven.
Intimacy coordinator.
Part of Production O'Brien Europe and head of that organization. Tommy, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tommy O'Brien here. Thank you, Steph, for the invitation. We just landed about an hour and a half ago. Got zoomed straight here. Been watching all of your shows over across the water. Very impressed. Very enjoyable. Thank you.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Now, before you go further, we have a bit of a tradition. Who are you wearing? That's an
I
important
beg your pardon. What I'm wearing is the jersey I wore, as you see, with Morris Masters on one of their tours over to Ireland in January a couple of years ago. We had a wonderful match against Castle Island and a wonderful game with Munster in Thomond Park, and somebody had a drink or 10 regularly.
It doesn't happen.
In fact, they all did. But it was great weekend, and we've had a few of them since.
Brilliant.
Bill Dobbs, wearing my Sacred Heart shirt for Brian over there, for his two twins going to school there playing rugby. And I got my Pit Vipers on because Sydney, one of our former captains, gave me these, and I wanted a shout out.
Also in the aerodynamic eyewear category. So that's two. All right, keep going.
All right, Steph Aliprandi, Sydney, my apologies. My Pit Vipers are at home, very safe, where they will stay because I tend to lose things. And Mike, please.
Dobbs, the sad trombone for sure. That's
It's terrible.
And Mike Eisenhart here, repping the USA today. We'll get into that. So feeling good about wearing the colors, and absolutely the aerodynamic eyewear. I will do my best to keep them on. The intro was a little hard to see, I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to do my best.
It is difficult with them on, I got to say.
Let's get into Rugby Showcase East, June 10th and 11th. Day 1, the semis and the big game, the championship, and Day 2, the showcase. Kick it off, guys. Let's talk about what I think it was year 3, if I'm not mistaken, and a great weekend.
Yeah, another successful event. I mean, I think high level, where I can keep it there, a lot of teams this year. We had 12, 14 teams come together and all high school, so no U23s. And we had the middle school in for a couple of sevens games, so they were kind of mixed in, but it wasn't a full bracket, right, which really put the attention on the high school level, which I loved. And the rugby was pretty good. I mean, there were some teams that we didn't really know what to expect. A couple of select sides, one that came in from Illinois that we didn't know a whole lot about.
Illinois.
Yeah, we're
way to make friends, Bill.
To our listeners in Illinois, thank you for the correction. We now know it is just one Illinois. It's plural with an S, like deers. So after we got past the deers and the sheeps, we got to Illinois. It was a great day of rugby. And then from there, we had some other teams. Southington combined with Greenwich. Again, we weren't quite sure what to expect from them, what they were going to bring. But overall, really, really good, solid showing. A lot of colleges showed up, people recruiting. And despite some risk of smoke from the Canadian wildfires. We were able to get through it, get things ready to go, and I thought had a really, really great weekend.
Hey, man, I'd love to focus in for a second on the comment you just made about Southington Greenwich. And, when you get, maybe it's not aptly named a motley side like that, but when you pull two sides together like that who have not had the opportunity to train together really and to watch the performance that they put on out there, that was pretty impressive. I mean, to pull that team together for that weekend. I don't think they got together once. And, when they hit the pitch, they were ready to play. Yeah,
it's a fair point. Their attitude I thought was real good. It's a tricky business when you're putting teams together, especially teams that are, it's kind of frenemies. They're sort of rivals during the year, but they neither one felt like they were strong enough on their own to come down and play and compete at this. And so they got together. They contacted us and said, "Hey, would you be okay with that?" Of course, we just want to see good rugby, so we're happy to have anybody. And they did real well. And to be honest with you, they were the most heavily recruited team. Sort of overall, the number of recruits, with the exception of Morris. They were actually number 2. Morris was number 1 because we had some players that were playing with Hudson Catholic, so when you kind of combine those. But after that, it was actually Southington Greenwich, which I would not have seen coming, to be honest with you.
Great point. But I think that belies the talent from both teams and probably just the struggling a little bit at the end of a tough season, with the injuries and et cetera, and they still came out and put on a hell of a good performance. And, you want to talk player of the match, or let's call it player of that team, I'd call that outside center 13. Holy cow, what a day she had out there. Unbelievable. And I'm sorry I should have looked up the name, young lady, because you were a house of fire.
It's always nice to see when somebody shows up and brings it.
Yeah, well, let's get a little deeper into day one. We had the semis and then the big game. Bill, what'd you think?
Our game against Doylestown, well, you never know what you're getting with Doylestown, but the one thing you're going to get is they are not going to give up. Mm-hmm. So if you get a lead, you have to build on that, or they're going to come back and bite you. We know that from past experience, and
too well.
Yeah, and so our girls went out there, and I thought they played pretty well in that game. They kept the foot on the gas, and it went well.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
So,
Battle of the Delaware this time goes to Jersey, which was nice. But you're absolutely right. They strung some good rugby together. I think if you go back and watch that game, that was some good continuity, some good ball movement, a lot of people making impacts. It wasn't just one or two players. Mm-mm. So love to see that.
And they're a young team, right? You're talking about very few seniors on that team, so they're depending on a lot of players playing up from that U14 program, and those young ladies showed themselves well.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, in a pretty competitive game. Game 2, Mike, what do you think?
Game 2, so you're talking about the West Carroll Aspetuck game. So, like Dob said, we caught only a little bit of it because we were getting ready to warm up. They were on first, and we had to sort of bail to get our folks warmed up. We saw West Carroll make a really good play. Some might call it like a tactical prowess move. They moved the ball to the outside. They knew what they were up against, right? So Aspetuck is very firm in the middle. They have those couple of really strong flankers. One we're going to talk to a little bit later as a guest. And so,
when the rain starts.
Yeah, right when the thunder rolls in. It was almost as if they had done the scouting work. Hat tip to Taylor Schussler, the coach. She's a high-level player as a player and now obviously understands the game. And she got those talented centers out into the width, and they scored. It looked relatively easy. You sort of thought, wow, this is going to go their way. And then we kind of walked away, and then I got all the scouting report. And from what I understand afterward, Aspetuck started pounding the ball up, and both families from West Carroll and others who watched said it was almost as if West Carroll didn't quite believe they could beat them, but everyone else sort of did. So they let off, or something happened, and Aspetuck was able to score a couple and get the win. So.
Yeah, from what I can recall, it was a bit of a tale of two halves, right? And Aspetuck took a little time warming up, but, we're talking about the weather report, thunder and lightning. She turned it on in that second half, and her team followed, Yep. And, the one thing I will say, though, about West Carroll and the coaching staff over there, hats off to you guys and your players, because I thought their set pieces were probably the best of the weekend.
Really?
Yeah. Their lineouts were spot on every time. It was tight. Their scrummaging was good. They're not a particularly large pack, but they're well skilled. And they put on a good effort against a pretty stacked Aspetuck side. So, it could have gone, in my opinion, either way, but Aspetuck just put the pedal to metal. That pretty much wraps up the piece on semis. So it ends up being the clash that I think we were kind of expecting, which was going to be Aspetuck versus Morris. I'll open it up to the table on that game. Holy cow.
I mean, holy cow is right.
Yes.
I mean, it was a game. It was a game. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, for me, you never like to have to take away something from your own team, but Aspetuck came out hard.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted that. They came out ready to win. They knew what they had to do. And if there's one thing that I think that they did brilliantly, and I kind of expect or suspect that that's a strategy, but I'm not sure, they stacked those rucks and they maintained possession better than anything. I mean, they were putting in that kind of, that pogo line, that caterpillar ruck. And,
Yeah.
I mean, they held that ball away from us. We could not jackal that thing, and they kept possession like it had to be 80-20 in the first half.
Oh, yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't win if you don't have the ball.
That's it. It was like they sort of said, like, look, we know these guys can attack, and we know that we feel real comfortable running at people. And they did a really good job of keeping ball in hand that whole time. They weren't kicking it away. They weren't doing anything to lose possession, and they just kept pounding meters, 5 meters, 10 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters. And it was working. And there wasn't a whole lot we could do about it, right? Because they just kept getting the ball back, and they just played a really conservative, run off the base, go ahead and tackle us kind of an attack, and it worked.
And that was a physical game.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. That was a hard-hitting game. Talk about contact on both sides of the ball, right? At the breakdown, like you said, they're committing the players to defend their ball in the offense, but in the defense as well, they were making good decisions, right?
Yep.
If they couldn't get in for the jackal and contest that ball, they're pulling out and getting the defenders across, right?
Patient.
And they're ready to cycle again. So I was really impressed on both sides of the ball with that team. Just clinical rugby.
Yeah, I mean, it made it tough. I mean, we were having a conversation on the sideline where basically we were both just sitting there looking at each other going, like, we've got to get possession. We have to get the ball.
Yeah, right.
And like we did. We had a couple of opportunities, but it was, things that didn't go our way necessarily, a couple of knock-ons, a couple of key losses here or there. I don't know if there was a penalty in there or whatever. But, I thought...
We gave up a lot of penalties.
Yeah, okay. I can't... It's a little bit of a blur, to be honest with you. But our players were doing the basics. Like, they were making the hits. There were a couple of really big tackles on our part. I mean, Liz Hansen had a smashing hit that, two players that I think it might have been Torres and her go in head-to-head, and basically... Or might have been Jenny.
It was Jenny.
And they were both stunned. And it's like, man, you don't see those two players get stunned in contact ever.
Yeah.
And they both were. They both kind of looked up like, whoa, that was heavy. But
that was a clocker of a collision, without question. Yeah. Two competent players, powerful players, and man, that stopped the clock for a second. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm never one who likes to lose a game, but I was happy for Aspetuck. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose, but I really was happy for them. I thought they deserved it. I thought they had a great game plan. Thought they executed well, and the better team on the day won.
Yeah. And, I think the thing that, for me, they were peaking at the right time. We actually said that in the podcast last time, and it was like it worked out. They got better every single game all season long, and they just hit it at the right time. And, what can you say? But hats off to you. Like, you got the win. You earned it.
Right.
Which, that's a very different tack. I mean, let's be honest. We all know me. Like, if they didn't earn the win, I'd be the first one to say, no way.
It was BS. Yeah.
They
absolutely.
earned it. They grinded it out and got
Calls
it.
didn't go our way, whatever the case was, and that wasn't the case at all.
Nope.
Yeah. So let's talk about some key players in that match. I'm going to throw one out there right away. A freshman in the front row, Clotter, in the number 3 jersey.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Talk about a ball of terror on that field. I mean, at the breakdown, back in game, the acronym BIG, right? It's like she rolls away from the tackle, gets back up, she's into the next breakdown. She scores in that game, if I'm not mistaken. There's about a 5-meter penalty. She gets popped the ball in the second phase and then just takes 3 Morris players with her and dots it down under the posts. I mean, well done, young lady.
Yeah,
Holy
I
cow.
feel like she's been seen at this point. Like, people now know, like, this kid is here. I mean, she got some votes. She was I think maybe a second team or an honorable mention all EGRL. And it was cool to see, because I don't think she was expecting that recognition, which is, what this is all about, and made it really, really cool. But her teammates, it was like vindication. They knew. They've known all along. Like, this kid's been flying under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Humble kid, put your money where your mouth is and just making it work that day. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Now you're game planning against her.
Yeah, right, exactly. Torres at the breakdown. I mean, I don't think there's anybody, more deadly in that ball going for the jackal. I mean, good Lord. I don't know how many poaches, she had on us on the day and just gets in there, tough as nails. Once again, like it's motor. There's no quit. And it's like, she'll contest that ball to the penalty, right? Yeah. But in most instances, she's there at the right time, and she's going to make you pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You got anything you want to jump in there?
No, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely right, though. She's another player that deserves special recognition. I mean, she plays a very physical brand of this game, and almost like a throwback brand, like a brand that you saw 25 years ago.
Yeah. Tough.
And I know. Some of the players don't know what to make of it, but it's effective for her. Like, it's a style that works, and she is a factor in every game she plays. And it's not a new thing this year. Has been pretty much since we saw her on the field.
Yes, since she started.
Yeah, as an 8th grader, no less, playing up. I think the other one I would mention, Francesca Glazer in the backfield.
Yep.
I mean, talk about confidence under the ball back there. I mean, a couple of kicks over the top. No worries. It's handled, and she's getting an arcing run looking for those open lanes. And if she can't get it, unselfish play, dishes off, the play continues. I mean, man, hats off to that kid.
Yeah.
The other one, too, is Reese.
Yeah.
Reese Smith, yeah.
I mean, Reese, we had her for selects, was at fullback.
Yep.
Now she's playing 9, and she's doing a damn good job at it.
Tallest 9 in the league.
Yeah. Fast, too.
Yeah. She is. She's deceptively fast. I've said that to quite a few people. In fact, some of the folks, when we get to Pathway, some of the folks asked me about her, because she played with us for selects. And that was what I said. I said, listen, like, she's tall, she's long, so it takes a minute for her to get up to speed. But kids underestimate her speed every time. You see them come up on these sharp angles, and she takes that little swerve outside, and she's gone.
Yep.
And it's like, man, you better not underestimate that anymore. You better take a conservative angle on her.
Yeah, like you said, you're marking that player, right? You're absolutely marking that player. And, of course, Jenny Weiner, right? If we're talking about the yellow jersey again. I mean, captain, just a confident player out there, the playmaker, unselfish. Like, you see her taking contact, she's already thinking about which way it's going, right? She's going into that contact, head on a swivel. She's looking for her options, and the ball gets off. You know what I mean? It's not brought – like, yes, in certain instances, you want to take it into contact, keep it safe and recycle. But, man, she keeps the ball alive.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing.
She understands the game, too.
Yeah, fair enough.
She has a very good IQ.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said it here on this podcast in the past. She's arguably, you could make the argument, I think, very strong, and I would be one to be in this camp, that she's the most recruitable player in this league right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, if you're putting a college side together, what are you looking for? You're looking for a kid who's big and strong, has fearless, like, I'm going into every play hard. I'm going to make you account for me at every spot I am on the field. Tackles, rucks, steals ball, understands the game, is the captain, knows where to put people. I mean, it's like, listen, this is a recruitable player.
Right.
And off the field, a great personality. You see it because, like, all her teammates are surrounding her when the whistle blows at the end. Like, they're on the field together. But, I mean, whistles off, they're all under the tree together, hanging out, like, chatting, having a laugh. Like, she's a good leader. She's a motivator.
Yeah.
She leads by example, and then she leads by, her culture,
Fair enough.
So we're talking a lot about the Aspetuck, and well-deserved and rightly so. Let's talk about some of the players in the black and red jersey who had a hell of a good weekend, and unfortunately the game didn't go their way.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I think it's hard, right? Because they've had a very long string of success, this team.
Yeah.
And so, take nothing away. I mean, you could almost look at that and say, like, oh, poor you, like you didn't win this time. But really, in fairness, like, when you're used to this and you've prepared for this and you've worked for this, like, it's hard to take that step back and say, hey, we're now handing this trophy off. So it was hard. And there were some kids who really, I could feel that from them. They wanted it. They were working really hard. And for me, players like Abby Ammerman, like, she deserves that kind of shout out because she brings that, like, full on passion for the game, and I personally, I love that. Like, you can be as skilled as you want, you can be the most amazing athlete ever, But when you're willing to sacrifice for the person next to you, like that's what this sport is about, and that's what makes the sport awesome. So for me, she was one of those players, and she did have that kind of game. Now, I could easily go up and down that lineup, but I would say, the player heading to Lehigh, for me, she was one who stood out that way.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, since you picked the forward, I have to go with the back. And to me, it's JoJo McNoney.
Yeah.
Cool.
And JoJo, not only at Nationals and almost every other game that we've had, when we were down by a point or whatever, JoJo's the one picking the teammates up. And I watch it, see it game after game after game. So some of the girls are getting down. She's going over, talking to them, cheering them up, getting their heads back in the game. And the kid, she's not the fastest player on the field. She's got great speed.
Yeah.
But she dances through.
She has the swerve.
It is just amazing the way she dance. I say, look, there goes JoJo dancing.
Yeah.
And she just dances through tackles.
Her and Reese Smith, that was easy to say, are very similar players.
Can you say that again?
Reese Smith.
Maybe with the Pit Vipers.
That'll make it easier. But very similar players that way, right? And it takes a little bit of time for that speed to get up, but they find that space and they just exploit it and forget it. It's gone.
Yeah.
And tough runners too, man. It's like, I remember a guy we used to play with, this Welsh guy. He was not the biggest guy in the world out there, a little bit on the lanky side, but my buddy who I played with, when we'd practice against this guy, said it was like tackling a bag of doorknobs. You know what I mean? He was just moving, and like knees were going and elbows, and it's like you thought twice about putting a hit in on this guy. It's like he was going to make you pay for it, and I feel the same way about them.
JoJo and I talked about how I always say, "Oh, look at her dance," and she goes, "No, I think it's her family who says, yeah, you run like a gazelle."
She, in fairness, and we didn't mention this, but we should go back to it. She had really a breakout game in that semifinal. I mean, she scored 3 tries. She had a hat trick in that semifinal.
Yeah.
And, I looked over to her dad, who, as we all know, but those who may not know it here, he's a big rugby fan and very involved in the game. And
yeah.
I looked over and I said to him, that is the most confident I've seen her play. She is playing like she wants the ball in her hand, and she's going to go make that stuff happen. So, so really good work by her, and definitely worth a shout out. So I know we're going to pause here.
Got a weather report coming up.
2 quick mentions on culture, and we talk about JoJo, who's giving the pats on the back, keeping the team motivated. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Sydney Sibilia, who leaves it on the field every time, and Amanda Corfin, who's coming up in the 10 role, who is out there with a smile on her face, positive, making an impact, and keeping that team in that positive frame of mind, right? Even when the chips are against them.
Those are great mentions.
Yeah.
They're definitely great mentions. I mean, Sid is a kid who, she's an irreplaceable energy. We're gonna she's gonna graduate on, and there's gonna be a void, because even when she was a sophomore, she was bringing this amazing energy. And I think you're right. Amanda has a lot of promise. She's another one of those players where, and I've had some conversations with some of the colleges that were there. They're asking about her.
I'll bet.
She plays so much bigger than she is. It's like you kind of have to get that square in your head, and a good kid listens, coachable. She'll be doing good stuff.
Absolutely.
Agree.
I think this is actually the first time that on the podcast we've got players from the EGRL representing the championship side of Aspetuck Valley Rugby. Guys, introduce yourselves, please.
I'm Jenny Weiner. I'm Eliza Rollinson, wing.
What's the weather like?
Oh, give me
funny
a
that you asked.
Give us a second.
No. What could possibly go wrong?
If Jenny's there, it's got to be rain.
Okay.
Well, here in Shelton, Connecticut, it's been downpours, absolute downpours, torrential, raining cats and dogs.
And we have one person
We have one person to blame.
who we can blame it on, and it is
Is that a picture of Don? Oh, that's so good.
Don.
That's so good.
He is, I believe this with my whole heart, that he is the problem.
He's been calling this.
There's a storm coming.
Untimely events. It's not Mother Nature. It's dogs.
And it's not me. For any of those conspiracies out there. It is not me. It is this man right here.
Innocent.
You are so getting struck by lightning out there. You haven't been planning this for months, have you?
I have. We have.
That is a T-shirt in the making. The
Yes.
problem.
Have you seen this man?
I would like the
He's
first
sort of
issue
the problem.
that shirt.
Ah, that's wonderful.
That is fantastic. Let's get a little bit serious, though. We've been talking about you guys up to this point. We were talking about Rugby Showcase weekend and the championship in the lead up. Big season for you guys, right? Big season for Aspetuck Valley. I mean, what we were talking about was the build that we saw within your team throughout the season, from the time we faced you guys up in Mount Vernon at just before the curtain raiser for the Ironworkers game, and then to the championship, and then obviously the nationals. What brought you guys together like that? Because it was really an impressive growth throughout the season.
I think our coaching definitely improved. I think if we didn't have proper coaching and they weren't specific on every single skill, we would have stayed like where we were in the beginning of the season, and then we wouldn't have changed. I also think team bonding, like how we got along, definitely throughout the season has, like, the bonding.
I love that.
What do you think?
I think that if you don't change your coaching, you'll never change the results. So the fact that we did put a heavy emphasis on defense, we did put a heavy emphasis on taking advantage of the other team's mistakes, I think that played a part in our success.
So while you're here, I mean, go ahead
Minimizing
and mention the names of your coaches, just so we have them in the...
Coach Caroline Roach
And Coach John O'Neill.
Nice.
Well, hey, hats off to both of them. But you guys are the ones who execute the work, and you talk about culture, and we were just talking about that, Jenny, and we were talking about you as the leader on the field, but off the field as well. And one of the things that I noticed, and the guys agreed, were like everybody hung out together after the game. Like, whether you were under the tents, under the trees, whatever it was, like there were no stragglers around. Everybody was chatting. You guys really, the culture permeated, right? You could tell that there was a sisterhood out there on and off that field, and I think that has a lot to do with the way the season kind of progressed for you guys. Agreed?
Absolutely. I think that it was rough in the beginning and we had some problems, but we learned from it and we grew as a team and players, and we do all these bonding stuff. We do the pig roast, we do this, and we make sure that we're all together. And I think it felt a lot better at the end of the season, knowing like every single person, we have each other's back, and we stopped with because we had problems just with like how we talk to each other, how we talk to the other team. And once we like addressed that and we stopped it,
Fantastic.
I think our dynamic and who we were as a program and a team definitely showed through.
Culture is a huge part. It's a real big part
Absolutely.
of the game, I think, especially for the girls' game. Probably all teams.
Yeah, sure.
It's everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, in the dying moments of a tough game, it's going to be who can eke out the hardy move, right? Like who can bring the energy and figure out something that you didn't think you could do.
And it's the extra effort getting there for your friend.
Yeah, you're not doing it for yourself. I mean, you're doing it for the person next to you,
Right.
Which is awesome.
Yep.
So I have a question for you, just a chance for you to, I guess maybe mention some people who aren't on with us today, but like in your eyes, who are the people who had big games in that championship game, who stood out and deserve a little bit of a hat tip and a shout out?
I think obviously we have some like great runners like April Torres and Jaden Smith, but I think what people don't see is all the dirty work that Kara Daughtery does, our inside center, and Rachel Camiglio, because yes, they're not making these huge line breaks, but they are at every single tackle. Their line speed's there. They're offloading. They're doing everything that you don't usually get credit for, but you should.
Yeah.
Doing the hard work.
I was going to give a shout out to our fly half, Ryan O'Neill. She's great at distributing the ball, as well as our inside center, Kara. She's always the first to the breakdown, always the first to run up. Defense is just as important in those tight games as offense.
Yeah.
Love it.
So your defense, I think that's one of the things that really impressed me, and I think impressed the group, right? And that is it's about unison and tempo. You can't have half the team going after that line speed. It's got to be all together, and it's got to be for the duration of the game. What inspired that? Like what kept that tempo up? What kept that brick wall going?
Well, our coaches definitely because in the beginning of the season, it was always like one or two people. And then our coaches actually went through every single film and like every single film of every single game. And they counted who had this many tackles and like who
Wow.
basically was making all the tackles. And it came out only a few girls. And then we spent the next couple of practices doing straight line speed and just embedding in our mind that like every single person needs to carry their own weight and play as a team and with each other. And you can't rely on one or two people to get it done.
Absolutely.
100%. I mean, because that is a team effort.
Yes, agree with that.
Yeah.
Individuals don't beat good teams. Good teams beat good teams.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Is that thunder in the background?
No, that's the car. Those are
Connecticut
cars.
driving.
That's Connecticut.
Somebody bringing the weather?
So, listen, I'm going to ask the hard question, and I'm going to reserve the right to edit this out. I'm going to tell you right off the bat. But in full sincerity, you got a bunch of Morris guys sitting around this table, and we have nothing but respect for you guys coming out and getting that win.
Absolutely.
How good did it feel to notch that win?
So full circle. From freshman year, starting with the
Yeah, I think because there's a few other girls, but us two were one of like the main people who wanted to like start a team, and it was so rough getting our asses kicked every single time against Morris. And obviously, you guys are an amazing team. And
someone
then
we looked up to as like the standard of play,
like where we want to be. And so I think when we looked at each other after the game and we started crying because it felt good, like knowing that like all this hard work finally paid off.
That's awesome. Well, listen, Dobbs and I looked at each other and started crying as well. It didn't have anything to do with that, but but in all seriousness, I think that it's fair to say that like we were proud of you guys. Like that, you earned
100%.
it. You know, you'll hear it on the podcast when we were setting up for this. We didn't feel like you stole one from us. You earned it. You did the hard work. You got the W. And, of course, that's what makes great rivalries. You know, I mean, the Morris kids are already talking about how they're going to right that ship. But, you know, truth of the matter is, you did a good work.
There's so much, like, we have so much respect for Morris. And I think, like, having them as competitors and finally being able to, like, get that one win. Like, obviously next year, it's gonna be back and forth again. And I think having you guys are pushing us and you guys set the bar for us. And I have so much respect for every single girl on your team.
And as do they, and we for you guys. You guys are rightly so the champions of EGRL 2023. And, we said it, I think, during the last podcast, but a hell of a good showing at Nationals down south as well. I mean, just your team was just, by the close of that season, you guys were just clicking. You know, nothing was going wrong on the field. It was, you guys were fun to watch.
Thank you.
When you beat us at Nationals, and we're in the line to shake hands, and you got to me and you were crying your eyes out, I had tears in my eyes for you. I was not happy that we lost the game, but I was so happy for you guys because I knew that was a big game for you.
It definitely was.
Well deserved.
We set a couple of, like, we're a very goal-oriented team, and that's our coaching style. And one of our first goals at the beginning of the season was to beat you guys. So it felt very...
And I mean, you guys, you had the win on us that first game, and then we actually walked into National, and I was like, it's like, if this game goes either way again, I swear, like, I don't think I could take another one. And I was like, this is fine. Like, we finally just have to do it. And we went in, and I think we played. I think both teams were really beat up because we were beat up after the first and second game. But I think it was a really good game.
It's a hard challenge. Anytime that you guys meet on the pitch, there's I'd be hard pressed to say that anything was taken off the field. I think it's all left on the field.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
hats off to you guys.
So I only got one more question for you, and this is a big question. So feel free to just say pass. But what are we going to do as a league to have it where you guys and Morris and these top teams go into nationals and take that 1, 2, or 3 spot? Because that's the next stop.
It's a great
right?
question.
I mean, that's the
That
next
is the
step
next
is
stop.
for us
We
to
have to
not
talk
be
about
5th
that.
and 6th, but to be taking those 1, 2, 3 podium spots.
We're gonna do it. I am not leaving my senior year without being at least top 3 in the nation. And that's
That's
it's
a
gonna
goal
happen.
we set at the end of this
Yeah.
season.
And we
Love it.
were so close against that West Coast team, and I think just with a little bit more training, a little bit more coaching, because our coaching style just changed. So we only had that like tiny season to develop.
Having
Now
the stability from this year to next year, having the same coaching staff.
We're only gonna get. Hopefully, we'll only get better, get new players. We're not losing anyone, and everyone on our team. We said at the bingo, we're like, we are going to place in one of those top 3. It's gonna happen, and we're gonna work really hard to achieve it.
It's a great attitude.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope it's us at number 2 and you at number 3.
Or 1 and 2.
Well, how about us at number 1 and you guys at
We'll see you next May.
Yeah, to be determined at another time.
Well, just to play in on that too, and Bill, you can help me out with this. In between games, Dobbs, like your coaching staff is up there politicking for our players with the college coaches, and I think one of the comments you got back when we were down in North Carolina was East Coast Rugby has really stepped it up this year. Like the performance that you guys had out there, that Morris had out there, that the Cardinals had. Like, I don't think the coaches that were there were expecting that caliber of rugby from the Eastern Seaboard. So, you had the conversation.
Yeah, that's what they said. They go, it looks like the East Coast is catching up to the West Coast.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Absolutely. And I think back to that Cardinals game down there too. I mean, that first half was all Cardinals, and I think if Aspetuck Valley keeps doing what they're doing and Morris works on their components as well, and and Cardinals come back to it, I think there's a darn good shot at taking the chair out from the West Coast.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to pull any punches on it. I think there's another grouping of teams in EGRL, who are right there as well. I mean, you got West Carroll and Downingtown, and these are teams who are a little bit away. Like they're probably at that, like I'm just a half a step behind, and I feel like they left Doylestown. They left that showcase motivated to say, well, we'll see you there next year. So you gotta love it.
Fantastic.
I mean, credit to West Carroll, because I thought in that first half that they were going to take home the win, and they have very competitive players, and they're only getting better because they have so many young players. So I think they're a team to look out for.
Yeah, talented bunch for sure.
We were saying the same thing. We were kind of like assessing the semis into the championship, but that was a game for us. That was a tale of two halves, right? West Carroll first half, but I think what we admire most about you guys is that never say die attitude, never quit. And it's like that, that second half whistle blew, and it was 0-0 for you guys. It didn't matter, and it's just impressive. That's the way to take it out there.
Absolutely.
All right.
I think any parting words for us, Aspetuck Valley champs 2023?
See you next season. See you next season.
Hey, listen, all the best to you guys. Yes.
I also want to add one more thing that
jeez.
Bill Dobbs, he brings the storm, and it was not me. It is not me. I need to clear my name.
Is that lightning I see in the background? Is that lightning?
There's thunderheads rolling in. Well, listen, hats off to you guys. Best to you and the team and your coaching staff. We're looking forward to seeing you next spring.
Yeah, right on.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
So coming back into it, guys, we have some overseas guests, as we had mentioned or alluded to earlier, and that's Tommy O'Brien and Stephen O'Brien. Tommy O'Brien's on camera with us here. Tommy, great to have you. Stephen as well. We've got a couple things we want to ask you. We understand that at the airport in La Rochelle there was a pretty famous run-in, and you had a good chat with somebody.
Yeah. We were flying back from La Rochelle to Dublin, actually. I met him in Dublin Airport.
Okay.
It was Donnacha Ryan.
Wow.
And Donnacha Ryan, to us Irish people here, and Munster people in particular, was part of that great Munster team of around 9-10 years, and they won a couple of Heineken Cups. And then Donnacha, part of his career, he left Munster and went over to Racing in France.
Sure.
With their top 14 team. Had a great career with them as well as second row. And a couple of years ago he retired and he joined up then with Ronan O'Gara, who was the manager of La Rochelle.
Born in San Diego, no less.
Correct. But he admits to being Irish as well. And I had been watching the final about a week or so prior to that between La Rochelle and Toulouse in the top 14 final, and it was a wonderful game.
Yes, it was.
Hard, physical, tough rugby. And the stadium had over 70,000
That's awesome.
people in the stadium. And any of you know who watch French rugby, in particular club rugby, the people are not quiet. It's intimidating to the opposing teams. But unfortunately, they missed 2 penalties in the first half. La Rochelle did.
Yep.
And they went on to lose the game by a point.
Ooh.
And the Toulouse scored the winning try with about 3 minutes to go. So La Rochelle had no chance to come back and get the ball upfield. And funnily enough, only 3 weeks previously, they'd been playing Leinster in the final of the Heineken Cup. And Leinster missed 2 conversions, left 4 points behind them on the pitch. And they lost the game by a point. And my whole thing, like Mike always refers to it there, is the chances you get, you don't get many of them. You must take every chance that you get.
Love it.
Every chance. You have to take it. So I went over to him and I was saying to him, look, hard luck on the game on Sunday. You know, that they caught you in the end. He said, no, he said. You play rugby for 80 minutes. Not for 76, not for 74. It's full 80 minutes of rugby. Don't take a break. Never lose your concentration. He's a big man, by the way.
Yeah.
And he has a hand like a shovel when you shake it. So mind yourself in future.
Right.
But it was great to listen to him, like, you know, and he, even before the game started in the Heineken Cup, we were watching him, Stephen and I, and Stephen's mum and his son, and the drills they were going through, you know, they were fully focused. They knew what they were doing. It's like Jenny was saying there a minute ago, communication.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about, we have a job to do. What do we do on the first phase? If that goes, what do we do on the second phase?
Yeah.
What are we going to do in the third and fourth phase? Whereas in our time, I'm sure, like you young fellas here, we did one phase, we were very, very lucky. Particularly if it worked. But communication, they have a job objective. They know what they're going to do, and they stick to it. Great talking to them.
That focus, that intensity, that like never say die. And, you know, I think, Tommy, you mentioned something that I think is just at the center of rugby culture is that no quit attitude. And the other piece of it is that being magnanimous in loss. Like he said, hey, hang on a sec. You know, it's like, you know, it was a tough game, but you play for 80 minutes. And then basically he's wearing it on his shoulders going, we needed to play those last 6 minutes. We needed to play that, you know. And it's like,
correct.
which that's something to me that, you know, it's like, is what it is. We'll see you next year. You know what I mean?
No
it's
excuses.
Like, no excuses. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I got goosebumps you telling that story.
Yeah,
That's like
yeah.
fantastic.
And like, you've often see it. Your teams are doing it. At the end of the game, you go into a line, you shake hands. You know, well done.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Appreciate the game. You refer to Jenny there, and they beaten you in the final. And both you, Dobbs, and Jenny getting emotional at the end.
Right.
You know, that was fantastic. That's what rugby's all about, teamwork. Rugby's about socializing as well.
Yeah.
You know, because you're going to meet people in the future. If you're 16 now, at 26 and 36 and 46, meet people you played against all those years ago, and you've moved on and they've moved on. They have their own families, and the memories are still there. You know,
Yeah.
that's great about rugby.
Amen.
You know, that's the whole thing about rugby. The World Cup is happening in France this year.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully I might get a few tickets.
Yeah, we're staying at your house.
I don't know if you heard.
No, that
Chris didn't tell you?
that's
Jesus
46 on the list at this stage. One question crossed my mind as you were talking earlier on
Shoot,
about
yeah.
the games you had played in. And I think the team didn't do well in the first half, you said, but you came out in the second half and you improved yourselves better. And I'd be asking the questions of the team and yourselves, what do we do different the next time?
Mm-hmm.
What do the team do different the next time? Are they focused on, we made a simple mistake maybe, but how do we avoid that happening? We're all going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. It's learning from the mistake we made
Yeah.
and avoiding it the next time.
Yeah.
You know, that's so important in any sport.
Well, that's one thing we do at halftime. As coaches, we don't do a lot of talking at halftime. The girls come up, they get their water, They circle up, they get quiet, and the first question is, what are we doing well? They all have their ideas, they all say it, they're all talking to each other. That gets done, what do we need to improve on? And it's not coming from us.
Yeah.
It's coming
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah.
Because we see it, but they know what's going on.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that actually, I think, works very well. So,
Yeah, fair enough.
But guys, again, can I just make something? And I'd say to all the people here in the room, and maybe the people who are watching as well, and compliment voluntary contribution to sports. It's people like yourselves. You don't get money for it,
Ain't that the truth?
costs us a lot, though.
you know. But you're always there. It's like the mums and dads and the grandparents and the guardians. They're always there for the children, for the kids, the boys and the girls. They're available to bring them out. And you don't get money, and you mightn't win too often.
Yeah.
But you're going to have fun. You know, you're going to have good memories, great times, good laughs. You mentioned in one of you went down to some play competition, and on the Friday night, I think you said that the team wasn't gelling.
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah.
staying in it. But by the following night, at the barbecue, they're all in the pool together and chatting
Yeah, that
and
was
bonding.
selects.
And, you know,
Slacks, yep.
it's like the team bonding Jenny referred to.
Yeah.
You know, you're building the team together, getting it stronger, getting it focused. Communication, what we have to do. And then she said, clear objectives. Step 1, step 2, step 3. We all know what we're doing. There can be no possibility of confusion at all.
It's trust, right? I trust
Exactly.
you to the left of me, to the right.
That's right.
Behind me. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? You bring up a great point on that comment, because there was a marked difference in the play from the Friday to the Saturday from those girls because of that, you know, that first baptism of fire and then becoming teammates.
Yeah.
That first day there was some good individual play,
Yeah.
but the next day it was teamwork.
Yeah.
And it was such a different team. It was such a different team.
It's funny, our whole thing going into that, because I honestly had no idea what we were walking into. I know you guys didn't really either. And our goal was keep it competitive, be competitive, and improve in every game.
Mm-hmm.
And we did exactly that. We got better and better and better in every game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, Tommy, fantastic having you over here. You know, you've done some critique for us from overseas. What are you liking about what you're seeing? Where do you want us to improve? Like, what are the areas do you want us to throttle back on and hit the gas on?
Remember, I have a fragile eagle.
He didn't hold any notes up today, so I think we improved.
Well, I think the decor is absolutely fabulous. It's really fabulous. I love the fun of listening to you guys. You know, I love the banter. I don't know who you're talking about the majority of the time.
Either way.
Yeah, right.
That makes
You're
four
in
of
good
us.
company.
But you know, the people who are listening out there and watching,
All four of them.
they're obviously enjoying it as well because the numbers are improving. You have a clear objective. You know what you want. Somebody, I think maybe Tom was mentioning the weekend, the World Cup is only in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
You know, 10 years. And as you say, the 14, 15-year-olds now are 24 and 25 then,
Yeah.
you know.
Amen.
And maybe the mum and dads out there who have their children who are interested in playing rugby, but because they didn't play, they don't know what they can do, what they should do.
Yeah.
Go out in the back garden, throw the ball up in the air, let the child learn to catch the ball. Or just pass the ball to the child. Small, simple things. Because you're doing the small and simple things right, the big things come from that then. You know?
100%.
So that's what it is. It's just kind of focusing on the future. Not everybody will get there, but a number of them will. And it's the support that all the families and people get together and clear objective for the future. I think it's great. Great.
I think you just set us up for a segue into the next part, and let's talk about the future. And Mike, you were just up in Canada where our baby Eagles, let's call them, the U20s, had a fantastic weekend in a kind of tale of two halves against Wales and a resounding win. ABC, baby, always beat Canada. So let's talk about this.
Listen, I got to put the shades on because you know, the future, man, it's bright. It's bright. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it really was, and I was excited to be a small part in it and getting the fact that we could live stream and put some stuff out there on our channel. And but what a great attitude and atmosphere from the U.S. Like you can kind of feel the energy building, and you know, I mean, in the second game against Canada, we were talking with Tom Fury, who's been around at that level for a while.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, and I mean, you could feel it from him as well. You know,
Tess
he
Fury's
just had
dad.
a lot of nice, that's the
Yeah, I
same
think
guy.
that was Tess's 17th cap.
Holy cow.
That's pretty awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you could just kind of hear it and feel it from what he was saying. Like, wow, it's another step up. And you know, I know we've talked about it here. Like we talked about the fact that there seems to be this kind of like this level change that's happening or budding. You can kind of feel it. There's more players who know the game. There's more players who are trying things, working on skills, and it showed. So yeah, so the United States comes out and they're you know, like there was this feel that Wales was going to dominate. They came out right away. They scored one in the corner, which didn't seem like they had to work that hard for it, and a lot of time left to play. But they didn't break. They came out and they kept fighting and they kept doing their thing, and they were clearly disorganized. And one of the things that we had heard was that Wales had already played a few games together, and that's what it looked like. It looked like they were a team that had played, you know, a couple of times together. They knew each other. They knew what to do. The U.S. clearly had not. They had a couple of days of camps in advance. You know, they tried to do a couple of things, learn each other's tendencies. But at this point, very similar to what we've heard already, you got a lot of individuals and not a lot of team. Then it started to change, and it was like near the end of the first half, they started to actually show some promise and do some things, and you could clearly see that there was opportunity. You know, one of the kids that we saw at Selects, Vula Ono, who was on the wing, you know, she's going to University of New Haven next year. You could tell.
Baby Birds?
Yeah, she was the winger on Baby Birds.
Yeah.
Exactly, same kid.
So I moved Jaden.
Yep, exactly. And it was like you could just see that it was like, you know, like you're winding something up. You could just see that she was going to pop at some point. Like there was just going to be a break, and they started to have to respect her, and she got it. I mean, she drove one and put one down, and then that started to open things up a little bit. And then the second half, I mean, it was like, I don't know, 3 minutes. Like two kickoffs. The restart comes out. The fullback scores a big one. Just splits the defender somehow, and like it was almost like they didn't believe she had the speed to do it. She scores. They come back out. They kick the restart. The next one comes down the other side. They make 3 passes. The final offload goes in, touches it down, and now all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is now lopsided. You know, Alyssa was pretty handy with her kicks, and it's like 28-5 at this point, and you're like, man, this is done. Unfortunately, the U.S. kind of had that same look. Like they were like, well, you know, we're good. It's over. And Wales did not subscribe to that same thinking. And they just battled back the rest of the game. So, you know, that happens all in the first 3 minutes of the second half. That means there's 37 minutes left. And it was like 37 minutes without a try for the U.S. And they just keep chipping and chipping and chipping. It's now 27-28. Closing kick. Like the final whistle is basically blown. She's in the corner. Thank God for that. I mean, like they put her all the way in the corner. She's in the corner. She didn't hit the girl from Wales did not hit the kick.
Right.
And
tough kick.
The game ends 27-28. I mean, it was amazing.
Nail biter.
Thank
Stressful.
you to all the conversions from our kicker.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. You know, I'm not the first one in line to give out the rah-rah, you know, because she's my kid. But like,
I will, because she played for me.
well, that's fair. Yeah, but
9 for 10 on the weekend? I mean, come on. Come
Taught her
on, Mike. Say something nice
I
about
taught
her.
her everything I knew.
she had a great weekend. She really did. I mean, it was an awesome experience, and I know she's really happy with how it all turned out. And yeah,
She should
but,
be.
You know, I mean, you're sitting there, I'm biting my nails the whole time and trying to commentate the game on the video feed and getting bashed by people from Wales about why isn't the live stream working, and you know, like you guys texting me like, you know, hey, how come the live stream's not working? And, you know, like it was so you know, I don't know if anyone knows this, but Garmin, you know, the brand of watch I wear that checks my heart rate, it has this feature where it tells you abnormal heart rate detected. So if you're not moving and your heart rate goes over 100 beats a minute, it says, hey, yo, like something's clearly wrong with you. That thing must have gone off about every 2 minutes for 80 minutes. I mean, it was like, you know, like oh crap, gotta hit the button. You know, yeah. People are looking at me like, what is going on with this guy? His alarm keeps going off. Like, no, it's just my heart. Don't worry, it's just I'm probably gonna die by the time this is over. But
That was
Is
probably
Mike stroking
every time-
out?
It was probably every time you saw my name come up on the phone, that your heart started going 100 miles an hour, because you know it wasn't going to be nice.
affirmative. So good game, and then of course, you know, a couple days later they practice a little bit. A couple days later we go into Ottawa, TD Bank Park. So we get there. The game is a strong game right off the bat. You know, I mean, the U.S. comes out. They get 14 points pretty much early on. But Canada doesn't give up, just as you'd expect. They battle back. They score 3. But again, the conversions don't go their way, so they end 17-14 at the half. At this point, we're kind of like, all right, this could be trouble. You know, like Canada with a lead, going in the second half, at home, tough squad, not sure what's going to happen. The U.S. comes out. They're giving up ball all day. That's one thing you got to say about Canada is that they poached like crazy. I mean, they were over the ball on every single play. We gave up a lot of possession that way.
Well, I think Tom was right on the money with that.
Yeah.
We'd get little line breaks, and we had no support.
Yes.
Yep.
The girl whoever it was from our team would get tackled. They'd fight to stay up. They'd go to ground and do everything they can to place that. And they were either getting called for holding on because support wasn't getting there, or support would get there and they already had their hands on the ball.
So
yeah.
One thing I noticed, and if you watch closely in the video, you know, now editing this video, I've now watched it very closely. They didn't just come over the top. So, like, go watch this because I've not seen it before, and maybe I'm just, like, behind the times or something. They were coming underneath the player on the ground, like under neck or shoulder or arm, and over the top and literally lifting the player up with the ball.
And dragging them back with them?
Yeah.
So, like, just closing them off.
It was an interesting body position, but I saw it more, like, the first time I saw it, I was like, that's kind of weird. Her hand was underneath the player. Then the second time was like, no, they were doing that. They got down low, they came underneath and like kind of lifted up around the ball and then picked the player up. There was no way that kid was placing the ball.
Yeah.
Like once they were not pulling the ball in like we often talk about. They were literally like pinched around it.
Where are you pulling the ball? You're getting the 3 count and the
They're
arms going
bear
up.
hugging the kid and the ball. And so what happens is that you get blown off now, right? Like so you come in and you clean me out. I've got enough to hold on to that I'm taking you with me, and then my next player is on the ball.
Yeah.
So I don't lose my hands and lose position. It's like I feel like I want to go back and watch it again because I'm not sure if it's a legal thing. But like it was kind of like, wow, that was the first time I've ever seen that. And it was really curious. But it worked, man. It worked. You go back and watch that video. It's like, man, it was interesting. So anyway.
So something on that, and we've said this for a while now. Why do we feel like we're so behind on that tactic of the game? Like we first saw it down south. Like, and I'm saying, for sake of conversation here, I was talking about our team, but then, you know, you think about it from USA Rugby, like it seems like we're behind in that tactic.
Yeah.
Like everybody else in the world is on the jackal, is on the poach, and it's like you're talking about another technique that we're seeing for the first time. It's like, holy cow! Like we talk about game being possession, we talk about like why are we not working this component of the game like overnight, over and over and over?
It's an interesting question. I mean, I thought we really did well with it against Wales. Like and I think the referee was much more liberal in that first game. Like really let it play. Like there were some times where I thought hands were in. You know, she should have been probably blowing it up and saying, "Listen, get your hands out of there." But in the second game, they were fast. I mean, specifically the number 7. If you go back and you watch the number 7 on Canada, man, you had, I don't know, a heartbeat, half a second, and this kid's hands were on the ball. Good for her. And I mean, honestly, like that kept them in the game because without that, the States would have blown it open. I mean, we had the better attack almost the entire time.
That's fair.
And we just lost possession a lot. And so, at any rate, so you know, we come back, we score some good tries. There was some really good heads-up play, and put this thing kind of out of reach. I mean, and then of course, I don't think you can. I don't think you can,
40-17, man.
Yeah, well, it was 40-17 right until the final, and then the girl Norston, I think her name is, the 13 on Kent. She is
fantastic,
a hammer. I mean, she obliterated Alyssa in the opening minutes. I mean, like, thankfully,
we're getting off camera. Forward pass. I believe.
Was that during Alyssa's run?
It was forward, that final try. Yeah, okay. I'm not gonna bash anybody.
That's the player who got her when the ball went back.
Yeah,
bad pass.
Alyssa makes this dancing run.
Oh, she was tracking her, and Alyssa did not see her.
Didn't see it.
Watching that girl, and I actually texted all of these guys. I go, "Wow, Alyssa took a shot. She hit her good."
Yeah. So
and listening to you. You were trying to stay even keeled, and you go, "It looks like Eyes and Heart's okay." As she was getting up,
yeah,
it
pops
was more
back
like,
up. Yeah. Well, so the story behind the story. So,
do tell, Mike.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Good
So,
one.
how do we edit certain things out? How do we guarantee certain things right out? So we know there
You're
are
not, Chris
two
is.
Eisenhart parents that played rugby. I am only one of them. The other one is much tougher and much more aggressive when the little ones get, hit hard.
Mama bear.
Yeah, like 1,000%. Thank God she was behind the camera and wearing a penny that day, because she was like, it took everything I had to not start yelling at the opposition about that hit. I said, if you go back and watch that hit, it was a clean hit.
Yeah.
Clean.
Yeah.
She just didn't see her.
Yeah.
She didn't see her. And because you know what? There was another player there. She was cutting around. And as she stepped to cut, that 13 just came out of nowhere and nailed her. But you could see her coming. You see her coming, but there's no way where she was, Alyssa was seeing her.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
just
yeah.
no
That
way.
was the review at home as well. Lauren made a point to.
That was the blind side.
Her older sister made a point to say, yeah, like, you didn't see that coming. She got crushed.
Oh, yeah.
But thank God she popped back up. It was a really good hit, shoulder to shoulder. The girl was right where she wanted to be. I mean, good for her. But the kid
Lauren
popped up.
Lip LeBron James.
That's it.
Was talking shit to her sister. How shocking!
Yeah, exactly. That almost never happens
But-
more than 10 times a minute.
But the result of that run ended up in a try.
That's right. It really did.
She did what she was supposed to do.
Yeah, it worked out. So, it turned out okay. She got through the traffic. They retained the ball. It turned out that was Vulaono's first try of the game. That broke the game open. So
What a player she is.
she is. So we did not see the full element against Thunderbirds.
You're
against
kidding.
Babybirds. So when we played them in Florida,
Combined with Westerberg, that was some of the best backfield work I have seen to date.
I'm telling you,
right?
you go back and you watch the film, right? Like we saw her in Florida, and it was just she was blazing fast.
Yeah.
She just destroyed you give her the ball in the width, she's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Like, you have some kids who are just track stars. Good enough. Not the case. This kid plays defense. She's got a 3-on-1 at one point. She's the one. She's scraping across. It should have definitely been a try. I mean, it was like an automatic. The wing should have been gone. She scrapes through two players, gets to the third player with ball in hand, drives her out of bounds and a touch. It was like, holy hell. Like, that's legit play.
Right.
At one point, it's a 3-on-2 the other way. Alyssa has ball in hand. She's running to the corner. She sees she has nothing. She puts a little grubber down into the corner. It wasn't a great angled kick, but it was a good idea. Got behind the defender. This kid sees it, full pace, sticks the foot out, tries to tip it back in. She would have had it if her back foot didn't touch the line. She was gone. And it was like, this is a heads-up player who's playing multiple. Like, sometimes you get those kids who are just monster athletes. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, well, listen, like, get the ball to them. They're going to score a try or two. No.
She's got the IQ, too.
Yeah. University of New Haven, they got a gem.
Is that where she's going?
Good for her.
That's where she's going.
Well, I mean, talking in Florida, right? And it was Westerberg would take that hard charging run into the contact, drag three players in, and then she'd give that sympathetic pop to Vulaono, who then would just take that outside paint, that just on the paint, and arc around and drop it in every time. I mean, unstoppable duo. I mean,
yeah, she has a really, really bright future. I mean, the only other thing I'll say about that kid as far as shout-outs go is that she got obliterated at about the 2-meter mark. She had a breakaway. We thought she was going to become gone, and I don't know if it was the 13 this time, but hit like that 13. Came across the field with full speed, and I mean, took her into touch like at full pace.
Ooh.
Like as a winger, that's like one of those ones where it's not going to go well. You're
Yeah.
going to, and she got up and she limped, and that was early in the game. She played every single minute of the rest of that game.
Tough.
That's the makings of a champion right there.
Mm-hmm.
You have that stuff. It's like, man, that is a kid.
Yeah.
Watch.
So let's talk about that for a second. And the comment, Tommy, you talked about the youth game, and that's what kind of pushed us into this next segment. Tom Fury said something really important, right? He's been involved with the game a long time, just like yourself. And he said, look.
He's a lot longer.
A lot longer.
He's a lot older.
He's a lot older. He's handsome, too. And
That's Tess Fury's dad, if you're wondering.
that's right. Well, Tom's coached at a high level as well, right? And he's been around USA Rugby at that level for some time.
Yeah.
And the comment that he made, which I thought was really, really important and makes me feel good about the short, quick decade that's coming, is that he's like, I've been around this game a while. I've been around this level for a while. This is the best rugby at the U20 level that I have seen to date. He goes, I'm really impressed with USA, with Canada, with everything I'm seeing out here, this is a new game, right? And like to me, I couldn't agree more with that statement. Like the level of rugby that was playing out on that pitch from both sides of that of the red jersey and the white jersey was exceptionally good. Exceptionally good.
I agree, 100%. Like, so we've had conversations with some of the people in the Pathways program, and I won't drop specific names, but like, it's clear that's what they're looking for. I want to see how your players are going to use space. Like when we ask them, and I do, like, what is it that you want to see from our players so that they get picked up for this next step, right? Because we know there are kids that want to play that, right? And I want to see how you use space. I want to see if you're bringing the ball to certain places to create a space and then putting it back into that space. I want to see if you can use your feet.
Right.
I want to see if you have multiple skills. I want to see if you can do the late offload once there's traffic and you pull in some players. Like, it's not like I want to see that you can tackle and I want to see that you can pass. Like that's a thing of the past, man. Like
that's a whole 5 years ago. That's what they wanted.
Yeah, like that, and it's like you think about that. It wasn't that long ago that was the colleges were happy to have that. Give me a kid who can pass and tackle and catch. Like I can work with that. You know. Now it's kind of like, listen, you want a high level player, they got to know the game. They have to understand some of the strategies that are going on. They have to understand how to put other people into space. It's like that's pretty cool. And these girls, they did. I mean, in fairness, like, I don't want to take anything away from them, and I would certainly recommend anybody who listens to this, go back and watch the video. It's fun. It was really, really fun, and I was happy to be there.
Okay, so let's add to that. First things, like the comment you just made about, or both of you guys just talked about, was give us somebody who can do the fundamentals, was exactly what Greg McWilliams said to us like 5-6 years ago, right?
5 years ago.
I think he would be impressed with what he's seeing right now in the U.S., right?
Right.
Here's a guy who's got pedigree, right? Like good rugby pedigree from a player to coaching all the way through the ranks.
Yep.
You know, now back in Ireland, most recently coaching the Irish women. Not sure what he's up to at this time. Champ of a guy as well, but that was the conversation we had with him. So many beers deep that night in Denver.
Also, though, after the game and after you guys broadcast, Tom texted me pretty much the same thing you guys just said. And he said he can't believe, or something along the lines of how much the women's game or the girls' game is improving. And I said, we've seen this come out of COVID.
Totally.
And I go, for me, it's the contact area that's really, really improved.
Yeah.
From before COVID to after COVID, what a difference. And every season, that contact area gets better and better.
It's firm. I mean, you better be prepared to hit and get hit.
Yep.
Like there were moments where there were just monster and not like collisions, like head-to-head dirty stuff or out of position, like I don't know where I'm going to be.
Just a tough tackle.
Really clean, but I'm coming in firm, and I know if I don't, you're going to be playing that ball. Like if I don't put you on your butt, you're hitting that offload, so I have to do it.
And you better run with your support because otherwise I'm going to isolate you. I'm going to beat you to the ground and I'm going to take that ball away from you too.
Yeah,
right, there's no
some scrappy
40
stuff.
yards back and forth.
Well, it's except when a prop takes a pass off a
so that
kickoff,
you
and
have, yeah.
a prop goes, 50,
70.
60, 70 meters, almost untouched.
Forwards ball.
And the girls from Canada are looking at her. That poor fullback is going, oh, no. Oh, no.
So I kind of let it slip. I said, hey, listen, it's someone who's worn the 15 jersey. This is the stuff of nightmares. Like, you see a kid twice your size coming at you, full head of steam.
And she can move.
Yeah. Well, so, she played center for Brown.
Yes.
She played 12 for Brown last season.
Wow.
Yeah. He put her at prop. I don't think she'd ever
That's
prop
a no-joke program. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, she was, so, kind of go full circle. She, in CRCs in the sevens, she's the one who broke the long run. Alyssa tackled her in the try zone. She made the offload, and they won. Yeah, it was like, yeah. But, I mean, like, I didn't really remember her.
She comes out of that Memphis program.
Yeah, that Memphis.
Oh, is that right?
That Memphis inner city program.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that guy came up. He spoke at one of the AGMs.
Former Morris guy.
Yeah. Is that
Oh,
right?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Interesting.
Nice guy, too.
So, yeah. But, I mean, if you go back and watch, she breaks that run and then gets to speed, and it's like the collective, like, oh, crap.
And she was determined, too, though. She had to
You're
look in
not
her eye.
stopping her.
I'm
you could have pulled a
scoring.
Ford 150 out of that try zone, and she was going through it. Like,
Right.
forget it. Those two at the end are split. They're like, I have to tackle you.
Yeah, give it to her.
Go ahead, right this way, ma'am. Like, yeah, it Yeah, it was. Oh man.
So, I mean, fantastic weekend. Really well done by the U20s. Proud of you guys. Proud of you guys.
Yeah.
Way to go with Baby Eagles.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about something that really brings pride, and there's 3 representing the badge on this shirt right now.
Yeah.
Right? So take it away, guys.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Listen, I mean, so the original EGRL squads, Aspetuck and Morris and, Doylestown and West Carroll and North Bay, right? So Alyssa's a member of that. In addition, you got Lennox London from Charlotte, who is clearly now a member of EGRL. And on the other side, you've got Cecilia Alice, who was a Wando Wahine and a superstar for them at the time.
Yes.
Now a teammate of Alyssa's at West Point. So
and the third
them,
being Alyssa
Yeah.
Eisenhart, your daughter at West Point.
So those 3 all on the U20 squad. But here's where I think it gets even cooler. Then you see the picture simultaneously. This is happening at Mount St. Mary's, hundreds of miles away. The U18 East Camp is happening. And there's like a legit brood from U18 from EGRL. Like a third of that camp are EGRL players. I mean, that just makes me want to smile.
Nelson's daughter's there playing with an injury.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I'll be damned if I'm not going down there to have me some fun before I go in for surgery.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, JoJo's there, Caitlin's there. I mean, the list goes on. It goes on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, so we sent players. I think we had maybe 4 or 5. Doylestown had 4. Vienna had, I think, maybe 3.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Cassidy Ball from ours.
Cassidy
And
Ball. Yeah, she was the other
okay.
one who got picked up, which is good for her. That's great to be seen as a brand new player.
Right.
December.
Yep. So
Yeah.
Vienna had a couple.
January.
Who else? Charlotte had a handful. Downingtown had a handful. I mean, so it wasn't just like concentrated on one team. It was pretty good
Spread out
spread.
through
I
our
mean,
league.
Aspetuck had a couple.
Yep.
Yeah. So
So one thing I want to say about the girls who played in the game on the U20s, Lennox London played lights out.
yeah.
Cecilia,
Yeah.
20-minute impact sub, and she made an impact when she came in.
Absolutely.
Her
Absolutely.
line-out throws, I know when she came home with Alyssa over the winter, her and I were talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
And I take no credit. No, I did not teach her that. It was not me.
She's a good kid, though, right?
Yes.
As he winks into the camera.
No, I'm dead serious. We just talked about stuff. That was it. Her throws were spectacular.
Yeah.
But ball in hand, she's a force to be reckoned with, which we know from last year.
Yeah.
When she was with
Firsthand.
Wahinis.
Sure.
And I thought when she came off the bench, she really made an impact, which
Yeah.
I was happy to see.
Yeah,
She's a very nice kid.
She's a great kid. And I know that she was in a bit of a tough spot. She's not quite like big enough to be a prop at that level is kind of what it seems.
She went in at hooker,
She
though.
went in at hooker, and so she's been really working on that. If you remember, she played 8-man against us.
Yes.
So in high school, she's playing 8-man. She's like a flanker. She's got the speed to play back row. She can move. But, they think, all right, you're probably a front row player. And so she's been trying to develop that skill. I don't think she knows how to do any of this. Like, she's never done it. But I think this is the year that, this past year at West Point, she's been trying to carve out her role. And I agree with you. I think she came on. She had a couple of really good runs. She's around the breakdown. She's beating people up for putting their hands in there. I mean,
Hell yeah.
Like, that's what you need from a player like that.
Yeah.
But I was impressed with her line-out throws. They were on a rope.
Yeah.
They really were.
Well, I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that. I know she's been working really hard on it.
Sure.
Well, that's a big pet peeve of yours, right? And it's like you drill that and drill that and drill that. And it's something that I think we, unfortunately, as Morris, just didn't have that level, that consistent quality that we've become accustomed to, and your daughter being the last one that was
Part of it was our fault this year. We didn't work on it a lot at practice this year.
probably could
because
work some more.
There was other things we needed to work on.
Yeah.
We got, you know what? It's funny. We always say that stuff, right? But it's like the kicking, the line-out throws, those technical pieces of the game. It's like I don't know if we can, as coaches, and this is probably for coaches everywhere, kind of hope that people are going to do it on their own, right? It's like
Yeah, but I think the 2 girls we had throwing, which were Caitlin and Emily Starkweather, I think their throws were good. I think our timing was off.
correct,
And I'm going to put the blame of that on us.
fair.
because
You
we
got to
didn't-
drill it.
We did not work it enough to get the timing down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
That's another area that if you go back and watch that video, something that you got to give a little hat tip to Canada for. They had a lot of options in the lineup. They ran a lot of trickery movements, a lot of, second pause, change, move.
Yeah.
It kept us guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good motion line out they had going on there for sure.
But I like what we did. I like what the U.S. did. They kept putting up the defensive jumper at the first spot. Because they got to be...
Just play the odds.
It's got to be a good throw.
Yeah.
And the other thing they were doing, which is a pet peeve of mine, is that little sneaky step into the channel, right? And just give that jumper that extra 6 inches to get in there, right? It's like it's critical. I mean, that's where the spoil comes in. Like, anywho, what the hell do we know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, for what it's worth, and I have no idea if these players will watch this podcast. I hope they will, but there were some players that definitely deserve some shout outs. Some of them, I'll say, just because they're a year behind. Some of these kids are rising freshmen. I mean, Vula Ono being one of them, but like the Wood sisters who are going to Sacred Heart, like these are two twins. One played prop, one played 8-man.
Another set of twins.
Big,
repping them well today.
Big, strong, players. So that's a huge pickup if you're Sacred Heart.
Sure.
The kid AJ Howie, who
wore the red, white, and blue.
She was one of the red, white, and blue scrum halves. I think she's going to Life. So Life got two of those kids coming up. One was Hattie Greenwood on the wing, and the other one was this kid Howie, who
good job, Rizard.
She played really well. I mean, she's a product of Fallbrook, so good for her.
Guys, I think we've covered it. Tommy, Stephen, thanks for being here. Tommy, any parting words for our tens of listening audience out there?
Congratulations to you all. You were listening out there, the ladies who part of EGRL, who are now part of the under-20s. Great start. Take a bow, everybody. It's also your hard work, your persistence. Keep at it. From 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 to 15. Way forward. Well done. Well done.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Bill?
I think my final comment's going to be, can we trade him for him? He's positive. He just yells at us.
Production O'Brien Jr. has gone out on waivers.
Joking on that, but Mike, thank you for putting us on the map.
Oh.
Really, I mean, you and Andrew did a fantastic job. Paul and Tom on Saturday worked really well too, and thank you.
Well, thank you. It was very cool. It was great fun, and yeah, credit where credit's due. Andrew did a nice job on the camera.
You guys were fantastic.
Yeah.
You were a two-man wrecking crew, and we're listening to it, watching the camera work. We're like, shit, we're out of jobs.
Yeah, pink slips are coming this week, fellas.
Where's that effect?
Yeah, exactly. So your pay went from 0 to 0.
I mean, shoot, we're out of jobs. Yeah. So let's end it on a different one this time, and it is reminiscent of Go Eagles, but ABC, baby, ABC.
Oh,
yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you for listening to Episodes from the Garage, the official, unofficial voice of the Elite Girls Rugby League. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Elite Girls Rugby League and follow us on Instagram at Elite Girls Rugby. Special thanks to our producers, Team O'Brien, and Team O'Brien, and Team O'Brien. Team Chef, Cameraman, and Guy Who Knows a Guy, Primo. Tim Herning of Tim's Tees. Guest commentator Tom Fury, cameraman Andrew Eisenhart, and of course our wives and daughters who entertain our crazy ideas and continue to associate with us respectively.
I am Iron Man.